WTL code S, Basilisk versus the Starlight Twinkle. And we're gonna kick things off with the great Jonas Otala wearing the exact same hoodie as I am, as he is spawning in the bottom right side of Oceanborn, and he's taking on the man that's playing in the dark. Starlight Twinkle's Wayne, also known as RotterdaM, also known as Vanya. Seems that the prediction will still be open for a little while, but maybe one of the admins can close it in like 2 or 3 minutes. That would be great. I don't want alt tab to do it. ZVZ obviously can be a bit weird, and I know some people are going with the narrative that Serral is vulnerable in ZVZ because he lost a couple matches against Solar, but everyone can lose games against Solar, guys, no matter what race you play, whether you play Zerg, Protoss, or Terran. Solar is amazing. I think Serral is still amazing in ZVZ. I'm not particularly worried, but Wayne is a player that can absolutely punch above his weight. Every now and then he pops up in a weekly and he takes out even Cham. So, Wayne is scary. I would say he's the ace player of the Starlight Twinkle. I'd say he's the scariest of the bunch. So, perhaps it's a good thing that Serral is going up against him. I don't know if ZVZ is that coin flippy. It's just, is it like any more coin flippy than a TVP is right now, where if a Protoss has a minor misread and Cyclones get on top of your battery, or you have no battery, it can be over immediately. I just think that we cannot always assume that Serral wins every single match. Not against a player like Solar. And sure, at one point Solar won 5 games in a row, and that's pretty extreme, because we can't really think of a Terran or a Protoss that can win 5 in a row against Serral. But, you know, if Cham is truly feeling it, if he's red hot, or it could be happening as well. And I don't see Solar win 5 more games in a row. I think Serral has already won like twice against Solar ever since. So. It is just that the scouting can be a bit difficult. Wayne moving out the queens relatively early, and that should actually net him an Overlord kill. That's a pretty good start, guys, for Mr. Wayne. Serral does have a Zergling active in the main base of Wayne, sees the amount of links that Wayne has, sees the spawning pool wiggle. Serral's obviously going to assume that it's real, and it is real. There was a few more links that Serral had on his side of the map, so he's going to play it safe. We're going to queue up 20 links. A couple of them have already hatched, a few more of them are in production. Both players have gone for the Baneling Nest. I don't expect anything too dramatic to happen here in the early game. Wayne, of course, knows that he's the underdog here, so there is a chance that he is going to try to cut a corner or two while entering the mid game. How dare you leave when I get sick for 2 weeks, miss your streams. You gotta blame Basilisk for that. They asked me to go to TwitchCon. Serral is here, guys, with all of his Zerglings. Has a couple of Banelings in the mix as well, and I already mentioned that Wayne will probably cut a corner or two. Seems like he cut a corner that was a little bit too sharp. Track limits for Wayne, as he is forced to cancel his 3rd hatchery. And we're off to a great start. Just like that. Doesn't have to be that coin flippy, guys. Serral makes 20 plus links, has a couple Banelings on the other side of the map, and gets a very easy cancel. And now he's actually going to get more. Why not? That queen gets surrounded. Banelings are here. One Baneling does get a good connection. Serral at this point really wants that queen. Gets the queen. Lost a lot of links, but I guess we'll take it. Oh yeah, speaking of, what time is qualifying today, Jeremy? And I haven't seen anything of practice. Let me guess, Red Bull's looking good? We have a Spire on the production tab for Wayne. That's kind of what I thought he would go for. Fired up a relatively greedy lair. Serral has 7 roaches on the production tab, and I wouldn't be too surprised if Serral just continues building units from here on out. 7 roaches become 10 roaches, and he's most likely going to rally everything to the other side of the map. There are some moments where I was like, oh, it's going to be close, right? Will the Mutas come out? Are there going to be enough Mutas? I don't think this is going to be that close. I think Wayne is going to be forced to spend all of his resources on defensive roaches. So far, he has nothing. To me, it feels that he's kind of dead. But perhaps he can surprise us. The Overlords are going to give Wayne the heads up that this is happening. He's going to get a... Ooh, he tried to build a spine, guys, but the spine was actually blocked by his own queen. And now that drone is still just chilling there. And a lot of roaches in production, and obviously this is a pretty big map, so it takes a little while for the roaches of Serral to make their way to the other side of the map. But at this point, Serral is here. Banelings are starting to find really good connections, not just with queens, but with roaches too. That spine is late. Maybe if that spine was online, that was a tiny chance. I mean, at least the spire is up at this point, but I don't think that Wayne can really keep this up. There are about to be like, I don't know, 20 or so Zerglings that are going to show up on Serral's side. Spine is going to get picked up. Yeah, if that spine wasn't blocked, guys, by that queen, you know, maybe you would be able to get like 8-10 hits out of it. I don't think that's going to happen. Seems that Serral lost a couple of drones on his side of the map as well. The Lynx are attacking the Baneling nest now. I don't think that's really the right choice. These Lynx need to get on top of the drones. Serral definitely needs to get a little bit more than he's been able to get so far. And I do think he will get that. I'm still not too concerned, but pretty good defense in the end by Wayne. But I think he is going to be forced to lose that third base one more time. 9 drones have died. The queens have died. Sure, a couple of mutas are out, but I'm not too worried about 4 or 5 mutas. And obviously, if the mutas leave, then maybe the Zerglings of Serral can get some more work done. The roaches don't have +1 missile attack, so it takes roaches 3 shots to kill a Zergling. That makes them so much worse. The Lynx of Serral will find more damage than all the roaches and Lynx and Banelings combined were able to get. Now we see 8 more drones die. Mutas were forced to turn around, and that is all C-Road for game number 1. Serral takes the 1-0 lead. I'd say very convincing. Pretty clean. But with how close that got at one point, Serral's frowning. I actually really wonder how that would have played out if Wayne was just able to build his spine. The fact that that spine was blocked by the queen really helped Serral out. Well, it's 5 p.m. So 11 my time, okay. That's the same time as boxing is starting, but I guess I can watch both. ESL game XY versus Coffee now at a 45-minute TVT? Really? I'll be honest, guys. I'm very happy I did not have to go through that yesterday. After the 20+ hours of traveling, if I would have been stuck in a 45-minute TVT, you guys would have had an all-time worst performance out of Roddy. Today I am a little bit brain dead. I'm definitely still jet lagged, but I feel a lot better today than I did yesterday. Rod who said station. I have the feeling that in a lot of tournaments where it's loser pick, people will pick this map against Serral. Because they probably think the weirder the map, the likelier it is that they can cause an upset. Solid 28 pixels, by the way, on that camera. And obviously this is such a bizarre map where I think it's A, easy to hide, B, stuff like Niduses or a hidden spire, I don't know. Just a lot of weird stuff. We saw Gerald pick this map against Serral, where he had a double Stargate Phoenix build that I kind of felt it was coming, and I don't know if Serral felt it was coming, but yeah. I don't think you're going to see this map very often if players feel very confident, if they think they're the favorite. But if you play against someone that you know is going to be favored against you, I guess it makes sense to pick this map. Hello, Dragon Elf. Thank you, matey, for the 18 months. Feels good to be back, guys, even though I'm not 100% yet today. But we'll get there. Tomorrow I'm casting the ESL Masters again, and I expect myself to be sharp and hopefully be completely back into the zone. And you're actually making me kind of curious about that TVT, so I wanted to open it. I grabbed my phone, and then I was like, why did I grab my phone? Short-term memory of a goldfish. We'll take a look at it. ESL Masters. Sick performance, though, by XY. I didn't actually know that XY was up 1-0. Coffee last season was pretty amazing. I think he finished 2nd place. Looked really good against basically everyone besides Oliveira in the grand finals. But I think even in that grand finals he took a 1-0 lead and he looked very competitive in the 2nd game too. Impressive by XY. How effective is their high APM, or do they click the same thing over and over again? But in the beginning of the game, APM obviously doesn't really matter, as that is an ultra quick lair, guys. 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and there is a lair going down on the side of Wayne. Wayne being, of course, the blue Zerg in the bottom left side, top right side, taking the 1-0 lead for Basilisk. It is Serral. In the beginning of the game, speed doesn't really matter, but as soon as you have some units that can really benefit from the player being quick, high APM does matter. Now, not everybody with high APM actually puts it to good use. I think that is something that most people are aware of right now in StarCraft 2. But if you look at the amount of value that Cham is able to get out of his multi-prong aggression, or Reynor with his circling run-bys, then you're like, okay, speed definitely does matter. Do you guys think it's going to be like a Roach Nidus? Is that the game plan here for Wayne? Serral has an Overlord on the low ground, and his second Overlord is heading towards the pocket expand. It is indeed a Nidus, so yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's somewhat predictable whenever people pick Radhuset against Serral that they are going to go for something weird, and very often an all-in. The larger the map, the better the Nidus is in general, right? Because Nidus doesn't really care about how large the map is. The TVT was actually a draw. Really? Serral was checking. Serral at this point, guys, only has 4 queens, has nothing else. Nidus is going to go up in the main base. Serral is going to see it immediately. He's going to pull the drones. Drones obviously don't have crazy DPS. That's a lot of roaches already inside of this Nidus network. I think I would let the Nidus come online and just let as many units come out as possible. Queens come out first. Is there energy for transfuse? Yes. Is that good enough to keep it alive? The answer is yes. And Wayne is looking pretty damn promising here, guys, in game 2 against Serral. Serral is going to try to pull the units back deep into his natural, perhaps even the third base. The Roach one is going to be very exposed. But Wayne also knows that he needs a little more than just killing a Roach barn. I think he even needs a lot more than just killing... Oh, the Roaches don't come out, and the 2 Roaches of Serral kill the Nidus. At least there is another Nidus coming online in the natural. Can Serral YOLO on that Nidus before all the reinforcements show up? The answer is no, so Serral is forced to fight. Does he have the numbers? It's Queens, Drones, and Roaches on the side of Serral against a lot of Roaches on the side of Wayne. And a couple Queens, and it actually seems, guys, that Wayne is doing it. With the weird map choice here, map 2, the Nidus all in, I think is going to get the job done. It's ace against ace. And it seems that the ace of Starlight Twinkle is going to get the job done. Has a few more units popping out of his Nidus. 13 drones have already died. It is 1 queen versus 1 queen. But the Roach numbers heavily favor Wayne. Serral tilts his head back, and he knows that he got wamboozled by the Nidus network all in from Wayne. As Wayne puts his hand on his head. Can't believe it. Said, alright, I did it. I did what only ever Firefly, Scarlet, and Dark have been able to do. And that is take a map of Serral in the regular season of WTL Code S. It was Dark last week, right? I'm not mixing things up. 1-1. A draw. Well. Yeah, Wayne has been having a great season. A lot of the ace players of the teams have truly delivered. Like, obviously, Clem is doing his thing for Team Liquid. Firefly is doing an amazing job for the Platinum Heroes. Wayne has been smashing it for the Starlight Twinkle. And Serral, even when he has had a couple of draws so far. I mean, is this the 3rd draw? That is actually a lot of draws. 3 draws in 5 play days. Jeez Louise. Is it time for Roddy to become the ace? No. You know, we'll let Serral get away with a draw here and there, guys. A win against Gerald, and he had a draw last week against Dark, right? Yeah. Serral has had more draws than Reynor this season. Right, is that actually true? Reynor had a draw against Kalazur. Had a win over Showdown. A draw versus... No, and win over Spirit. I mean, we don't know what Reynor has done. If Reynor wins today, Serral's actually had more draws than Reynor. Start prediction. Trigger versus... Man, my brain is not functioning yet. Cham, that's right. Oh. 10-minute prediction. Might start a little bit earlier than that, but it's okay. Yeah, I wasn't here last week, but Trigger, just like he was against the Shopify Rebellion in the previous season of WTL Codex, obviously was the hero of Basilisk. I'm feeling pretty good about Trigger today. I'm not too concerned. Cham is obviously always scary, especially when the regionals are around. Was very successful in the Latin American regionals. I think the fact that all the regions are combined right now in the ESL Americas, not something that I think Cham is ultra fond of. In the spirit of competition, I'm sure it's great and he likes it, but when it comes to having a guaranteed deep run and winning a bunch of prize money, it's obviously a lot more difficult for him with this current setup. Cham's ELO 329. Jeez Louise, they're doing him dirty. He's a lot better than that, guys. Trigger's ELO 510. Okay, he got like a solid 90-point boost after the 2-0 over the world champ. I'm starting to like the number a little more right now on the side of Trigger. I still think he should be a lot higher than that if I compare it to some of the other numbers that some of the other players have in the league. But at least we are no longer in the 400s. Simply Davina. Hey, I was talking about you earlier, Davina. I said that it was awesome to meet a couple of the chess nerds at TwitchCon. I saw your tweet and I was like, that's right, I gotta give you a follow because I want to stop by one of your streams. See if I can learn a thing or two. Top right side, guys, of Solaris. We are looking at the main base of the man that's representing us, the Basilisk boys. It is Trigger. He was the MVP last weekend when I was attending TwitchCon. Bottom left side, it is the Mexican Zerg, Starlight Twinkle's Cham. Why the graph had 511? Well, because I think they distribute points if you do well in the WTL events. So whether it's the Kung Fu Cup or Masters Coliseum or WTL Code S or Code A, based on your performance in those specific tournaments, they give you a rating. And obviously Trigger's rating went up a lot after he defeated Oliveira last weekend. I don't know if I have any chess fanatics watching right now, but Simply Davina in the chat is one of the chess players that I met over at TwitchCon. Lovely young lady. I believe she's very good in chess. I watched. She has more APM playing chess than I have playing StarCraft. And I'm kind of eager to learn. Last time I tried chess, it was not a success. I was kind of fuming over how bad I was. I played a tiny bit in elementary school. I learned one opening. That is not really an opening. But if you play against other people that are as stupid as I am, then sometimes it works. Yeah, 1600 ELO. I think that's a whole lot higher than I would be. I believe Davina is like 2300, if I remember that correctly. I think that's what she said, between 21 and 24 or something like that. I'm gonna try to introduce Davina to Elaser. And then maybe Davina can smurf for me and I can pretend that I am the... that Davina is me, and then I can beat Elaser, who I believe is the best chess player in the StarCraft 2 scene. Tasteless is actually pretty good as well. Now, Davina would not know who Tasteless is, but Tasteless is a very famous StarCraft 2 commentator who's been living in Korea for a long time. And I believe out of the casters, Tasteless is actually the best. I know that Maynard played a lot of chess. I think Zombie Grub and Fear Dragon played a tiny bit. Our man Jeff used to love it as well. I think he played a decent amount. Your thermal's pretty good. I believe that from the boys, the pro gamers, I think that Elaser is the best. At least that's what they told me. And that kind of makes sense to me. I think Miko is a smart dude. Arrow Fire and Sept. Okay, I don't know anything about the youngsters. I only know about, like, there was a time in BlizzCon, like 2018, 2019, 2020, BlizzCon and GSL vs. the World, where suddenly all the nerds were playing chess, everybody had the app installed, and people were challenging each other. I played a couple games, but I was just too terrible. Anyway, we got 2 adepts over here for Trig. I gotta focus on the game a little bit. We'll talk more about chess in the future, but yeah, TLDR, guys. If you guys want to follow a lovely chess streamer, give Simply Davina in the chat some love. I haven't seen her streams yet, but we did an interview. Well, not really an interview, a panel together at TwitchCon for BASILISK. Was a lot of fun. SC2 player chess tuning needed. I think it'd be cool. I would be interested. I actually think that's something that a lot of the StarCraft 2 folks would enjoy. Whether we like chess or not, I think seeing our community do something competitive, whether it's Dota or chess or League, is always fun. Trigger's off to a pretty good start here, guys. The 2 adepts and the Oracle show up at this phase. Unfortunately, the Oracle dies. That was not needed, because the Oracle was basically out of harm's way already, so we could have just sent that Oracle back towards the top side. But the 7 drones, I'll take it. Even with losing 2 adepts, even with losing an Oracle, 7 drones this early in the game. I'll take it. Did I play any poker? In Vegas multi, I played a grand total of like 25 minutes of poker. And it's actually the only thing that I won in Vegas. I lost in every single other table game or slot machine that I tried, on every different property around the strip. I went from hotel to hotel to hotel. The only thing that I actually came out positive in is poker. Links of Cham getting a cancel on the shield battery as Trigger is going to send double Oracle into the natural single drone false. Interesting follow-up, by the way, guys. Very quick charge. Don't see Trigger do this very often. Trigger is a real Blink Stalker boy. Almost say that I don't think I've ever seen Trigger do this. Obviously, we've seen a lot of other pros play a go Oracle into charge. But Trigger truly is a Blink Stalker believer. He's damn good with them. Maybe he's done his homework. Maybe he picked up on something that Cham likes to do, and he will feel that it's good against it. But the funny thing is that if I think of Cham, I just think of a man who makes a lot of queens and makes a lot of roaches. And if I play against a Zerg that will just always build a lot of queens and a lot of roaches of a relatively weak economy, the last thing I would want to do is spam zealots. I don't think that I have to get too serious today, guys, but I'm now starting to get a tiny bit worried. I don't know if I truly have to be worried yet. There's still a lot of Zerglings. The Zerglings are going to try to get on top of the battery, but the overcharge is good. Contributing to the next Vegas trip. Thank you, Whoop, for the Prime and the 11 months. Lord knows I need it. I think that next Vegas trip is in a far, far future. I'll come back once they have destroyed the Mirage Hotel and they build the big guitar hotel like they have it in Florida. Once that is done, I'll come back. Or maybe for the F1 race one day, but I believe that the F1 weekend is going to be a very pricey one. Cham is on 66 drones, and that is a lovely amount to make roaches, and not just roaches, we're going to make a bunch of swarm holes too. Brings me back to the Snoot days. In the era of Snoot, we obviously built a lot of swarm holes on the Zerg side of things, and 66 drones was the magical number. That is what all the top Zergs back then agreed upon. That is the amount of drones you need to build a lot of roaches and swarm holes. Yeah, it's awesome, Jimmy. I absolutely love it whenever they turn the sphere into the yellow smiley face, and then the eyes just go around. The smiley face is adorable. They also use it for like PlayStation advertisement and like U2. It had this weird message on it all weekend long, which said Achtung. I'm not making that up because you're German. But basically throughout the entire weekend it always said Achtung, Achtung, Achtung on the sphere. But every now and then it was the smiley face, and whenever it's the smiley face it was just adorable. Anyway, this is gonna be a bit scary, guys. Swarm hosts are dangerous. Lovely little zealot run by, and that's obviously showing up I think a little bit earlier than Cham expected it, because we opened up a charge first. But It's okay, Cham can deal with it. Is going to lose a couple of drones. First wave of Locusts getting 3 probes. Working on different structures at this point. Not the most impressive first wave of Locusts that we've ever seen. Yeah, they advertised Spider-Man 2. I mean, there were a lot of beautiful graphics on the sphere, but my favorite is definitely the smiley face. I took a lot of pictures whenever it was a smiley face. The supplies are heavily in favor of Cham, but I think this is something that a lot of you nerds will be familiar with. It's kind of always the case when it's Roach, Swarmos, Locust, but it also means that it's just one devastating wave away from Locust of this becoming a very problematic game, and I think this is a really good launch from Cham. Sure, there's a whole bunch of batteries, but Stalkers simply don't deal that much damage against Swarmos, and that Nexus dies. Not even battery overcharge could save it. We have some Zealots counterattacking, but Cham is playing a pretty lovely game here. Can Trigger at least find a good fight before the Swarmos are able to fire again? It's an alrighty fight, but I don't know if an alrighty fight is good enough. I kind of felt that we need an amazing fight. And there's still so many Swarmos. The next wave of Locust is going to be ready, I think, within the next 10 seconds, and that is going to be a problem. Cham is going to send a lot of them running a Stalker, and it actually means that a lot of the Locusts are going to be stuck in a stasis trappy. But the remaining Locusts should still be able to kill a couple of probes, work on a gateway. That was not a good wave though by Cham. I think if Cham would have just fired everything into the natural, he kills the natural too. And then he's absolutely cooking. That was definitely a mistake to A, land that many Locusts on a single Stalker, and B, see that many of them be stuck in a stasis trappy. With Immortals in the mix now as well. I'm starting to be a tiny bit more hopeful again, but obviously that previous wave of Locusts was incredibly underwhelming, but I don't think the Cham is going to make that mistake again. This Nexus is just ultra exposed. Nothing really protecting it. I don't even think the Trigger should try to save it, because you can't really save it anymore, so just let it go. I wouldn't hate a couple cannons, you know, just to have a bit of extra DPS. We have obviously a Forge as +2 is close to finishing up. We have a Disruptor on the production tab as well. Cham is down in workers, but I don't think he's very concerned about it, as his supply is looking mighty fine. 192. I know I've said this a couple of times, guys, but the next wave of Locusts is going to be very important. Stalker's trying to take the fight out as far away as possible, which I do like. Because then sometimes you can force the Zerg to use the Locusts a little bit earlier than they would like to. But the Locusts are still here, and once more they are going to bring a World of Pain. I think Cham should kill that battery immediately. He's not going to go for that battery initially, and we have a Disruptor with an absolutely fantastic shot. So Trigger starting this off pretty good. Locusts are about to expire. Roaches and Ravagers are going to settle for Stalkers in the end. I mean, that extra Zealot Warping should be good enough to at least save the Nexus. Great save, man, by Trigger. I do think that Cham messed up a little bit there. First by not killing the battery immediately, and then obviously the second one is that Nova connected with a few more units than I think it was supposed to connect with. And that means that Trigger is still battling, and at this point he feels that it's his time to shine. He's got +2 attack, he's running to the other side of the map. And we may actually be able to do this, even if we're down 50 supply. Stalker skill a hatchery. The next wave of Locusts is obviously going to kill. Oh, maybe not that much, as this Disruptor has been the absolute MVP. Now the remaining Locusts are still going to try to gun down the Nexus, and they most likely will succeed, because Locusts just have ridiculous DPS. Trigger supply is looking kind of sad right now. The problem as well, guys, in these crappy games, in these scenarios, is that Stalkers are expensive and Roaches are not. That obviously is going to favor the Zerg. Man, Starlight Twinkle is bringing the heat. It just goes to show once more that nothing ever is easy in WTL Codes. No matter how much of a favorite everybody thinks that we are, and obviously I still think that we are going to be okay here. You gotta truly take every match one at a time, and you gotta take everyone serious, because these boys are really bringing the heat. Wayne with a great performance, and Cham with an awesome performance here in Game 1 on Solaris. Trigger was the hero of Basilisk last week when I was attending TwitchCon with the 2-0 victory over Oliveira. But it seems that today, here in the opening match of this best of 2, it's not going to go his way. Roaches and Swarm Host are pretty damn good. One more Disruptor is not going to be able to let the Nova go off. And that means the Trigger is officially running out of steam. 2 base Protoss, 14 minutes into the game with a couple of Linky Boys is simply not going to be good enough. I don't know how many probes Cham has killed in this 14-minute game, but it's going to be at like 60 or 70 probes at this point. And he's going to get a few more with the final wave of GG Locust landing on top of the Stalkers. It is Cham who's hitting us with the dab as well. Who's going to take the 1-0 lead. And the 2-1 lead overall for the Starlight Twinkle. It's okay. Solaris, I think, is a tricky map. These things can happen. Trigger had one absolutely fantastic hold with the Nova, the battery overcharge. And then we also had a single stasis trap that was fantastic too. But it's just so hard to deal with that many Swarmos if you don't have anything that splashes. I know later on we had a Disruptor, but you kind of want to have like a bunch of Archons, a bunch of Colossus. And if you don't have that, this becomes pretty difficult. My Cham has a speaker on his back. Maybe he's vibing, mate. He's playing Despocitos right now. Maybe Cham is giving himself a walkout moment, like boxers and MMA fighters do when they walk into the stadium. He puts on his favorite song when he walks into his gaming room before he sits down, pumps himself up. Charge first was just a weird choice. Yeah, I mean, we see it every now and then at your. It's not that, you know, Trigger going charge first is like, oh my goodness, what is he doing? Like earlier we saw Australia go Sentry into charge first into Storm against Bunny. I think that is stranger than playing Oracle into charge in PvZ. We see it pretty often. I'm just not used to it from Trigger. And I'm also not necessarily in love with it against a player like Cham, who's just a roach spammer, right? Like Cham is not a massive lover of like Lings and Banes or straight into lurkers. Like Cham loves roaches in every single matchup, whether it's ZVT, ZVZ, or ZVP. So in that regard, I don't love it, and I agree that it was a little bit odd, but it's not like we never see charge first against Zergs. Maybe Trigger was expecting something else or expected the game to play out in a different way, and he did get a bit of value out of going charge first, because that first Zealot run-by, I think, did a bit more damage than normally it would, because it hit quicker. Yeah, I don't know. It's all good. Still a lot to play for. It's just everyone in this league is damn good. There are so many good StarCraft 2 players. There are still a whole bunch of amazing players that are currently not on a team. While I was in Vegas, by the way, I'm sure that you guys are already tired of talking about this and will say, like, Roddy, shut up, old news. But Cure joining Team Liquid. That was... I wouldn't say it was surprising, but I also didn't really expect it. Well, pretty awesome. Seems that Team Liquid wants to do some serious damage in this season of WTL Code S. And obviously with Clem and Cure, they've got a pretty damn gnarly team. And then you look at a man like Nikita as well, who you know is always grinding and obviously is a fantastic Protoss. Like, Team Liquid was already good. I think after the Cure pickup, they went from good to amazing. Cure is great, but what about Gumiho? I saw that Gumi had a sick day in the GSL. Now Harstem is on the Shopify Rebellion. Harstem used to be part of Team Liquid, but he left Team Liquid I think a little over a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago already. And Harstem joined the Shopify Rebellion. They still have Mana, who's obviously the manager, but is still an amazing player. Elaser is a fantastic Zerg. Skillless is a fantastic Protoss. And now they have arguably the 2 best Terran players in the world. And I know some people will be like, shut up, Roddy, it's Maru. And sure, I'm more of a Maru guy than I am a Cure guy. But if people want to call Cure the best or second best Terran in the world, I don't think it's a crazy statement. He is obviously amazing. Just a couple of the Terrans are fantastic. You mean Basilisk needs a Terran, right? I don't think that Basilisk needs anything. I think we have an amazing team. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like, we're always looking. We will always keep an eye on up-and-coming players. And obviously, Basilisk is an orc that has a strong relationship to data science. And people are crunching the numbers. In case you're wondering if we're just sitting there sleeping, leaning back and hoping that Serral and Reynor will win everything, that's not what we're doing. We have our eyes open. And I'll give my opinions. And obviously, the bosses will talk to me about stuff. But I don't think we need anything. But we'll see. You never know what the future will bring. What I meant to say is that you want. Yeah, I do know that a lot of people would love Basilisk to have a Terran, because that is one thing that we are missing. So it'd obviously be fun to have one of each. I'm loving our lineup, and I have a lot of confidence that this lineup is capable of winning WTL quotas. Well, let's hope we can also win today against the Starlight Twinkle. Top left side, he took the 1-0 lead in his little best of 2 and the 2-1 lead overall in this clan war. For Starlight Twinkle, it was Cham. Bottom right side, the Canadian Protoss hero, that is Trigger. Basilisk should sign Bunny. I mean, I would love Bunny, obviously. Bunny is amazing. I think there's a couple of Terrans out there. I feel like a Terran that I personally, like, maybe not yet, it's a little early, but someone who I obviously look at and be like, down the line, if he keeps on improving at the same pace as he has improved in the past, would be fantastic, is a player like Battleby, for instance. And I'm not saying here that we're talking about Battleby or that we're going to pick up Battleby, but that is someone that I have my eyes on that I think is like young, awesome, exciting, and still has a lot of room to grow. And obviously we have 2 world champions, we have 2 very experienced players. I think it's very nice to combine that experience with up-and-coming talent, and yeah, hopefully make some dreams come true. But it's a little too early, and now we're just speculating. But instead of picking up another very big name, I think it'd be slightly more exciting to pick up someone who is showing promise and still has a long way to go. I think that'd be fun. Trigger, I think right now is there somewhere in the middle. I don't see Trigger as an unknown talent or as an up-and-comer anymore. I see Trigger as an absolutely amazing StarCraft 2 player. But obviously he's not the world champ yet like Reynor and Serral is. The sign Maru. Powered by science, baby! After crunching the numbers for a long time, Basilisk has decided to sign this Maru kid. We see some potential in him. No. That ain't happening. Alright. Let's focus a little bit on the second game here between Trigger and Cham. Hopefully the man from Canada can bring it back for us. I know you guys were joking about it earlier, but if there is a world where Cham wins this game too, Reynor cannot be the 50% guy today. Reynor would have to be the 100% guy, otherwise for the first time ever we could potentially lose in the regular season of Codas. But I believe that Trigger is going to be able to tie things up here. Adapts into Stargate. Last game we obviously lost our first Oracle. That was a tiny bit sloppy. The initial move I think was great. The Oracle movement was great. The Adept dive was great. Getting 7 drones is awesome. But that Oracle was already safe. If we would have just flown it back immediately throughout a safe escape route, I think it would have been fine. But it was kind of idling in the main base, and that's why the Queens were able to get a few more shots off. Two Adapts are going to shade into the main base and misclick there on the side of Trigger. As you guys could see that he shot at the spawning pool. Cham with a good defense here, guys. Really good link positioning as well. These are little things. It's not just that Trigger lost an Adept now, which is annoying. But it's also that you know you shot at the spawning pool. And it wouldn't have changed that much. Like, either you kill one Zergling or you shoot at the spawning pool. But nobody lost that feeling of having a misclick that early in the game. And this is where it is important to just stay calm and composed and realize that it's not the end of the world yet. But now we're taking a lot of damage on our Oracle for only a single drone. Not the hardest start, guys. The feeling that Trigger is probably not super happy with this start either. Not just because it's not looking good, but you're already probably a tiny bit bummed out that you're down 0-1. And now you have a few misclicks. It is getting a tiny bit scary. At least that went his way. Observer is missing the Oracle dive in the natural. Seems that 2 drones died. Cannot make a single mistake with these Oracles now. Oracle number 3 on the production tab is ready to pop. I don't hate the idea of playing with a lot of Oracles against a man like Cham. Just because we know that Cham is not really a late... Well, he can play late game. But Cham is the scariest in the mid game, the early mid game, or even the later stages of the mid game, where he just pumps out a crazy amount of basic units that often don't shoot up. So why not make a couple of Oracles? Perhaps even make a 4th one down the line. I don't know. Okay. That was Oracle number 3. Playing a dangerous game here, guys. Trigger is, but he's gonna make one more dive. Grabs 3 more, keeps the Oracles alive, and the one that was in the middle of all those queens also staying alive. This is very ambitious, but you know what? I like it. He's living dangerously, but he's getting away with it. We have now killed 8 drones and have not lost a single Oracle yet. Well, I mentioned that Cham is not a man who builds a lot of units that shoot up. Cham said, well, Roddy, let me prove you wrong. And drop an early Hydra then. Now, is this for lurkers down the line, or is Cham actually a believer? Then he can make some magic happen here with Roach Hydra. Roach Hydra is a comp that almost every pro player will look at and say, that's trash. Don't take Roach Hydra serious. It's not been a thing in forever. I'm kind of traumatized, and I think that Roach Hydra is pretty good. Now, of course, it really falls off once Disruptors are out, Colossus are out, even the Immortal count is high. But in the meta, where everybody builds a lot of Oracles and Blink Stalkers, I can kind of see Roach Hydra make some magic happen. I'm actually kind of scared. I mean, you guys know that I respect the Hydra. There are barely any roaches, but just Hydra Link can obviously be a serious problem for Stalkers. But Trigger knows that this is happening. We've got the Robo Bay already coming online. I wouldn't hate a quick second Robo at this point. And when I say I wouldn't hate it, I kind of mean that I would love it. I don't know if it's a necessity or not, but we've got some money in the bank. We've got 700 minerals, 500 gas. I don't see a single reason right now not to get a second Robo. Because the Robo units are going to make your life so much easier against these Hydras. Counted by everything, yeah, but counted by everything that takes a while to get there. Like, you're not gonna win ZVPs by playing Roach Hydra for 25 minutes straight if your opponent is on 4 bases and has triple Robo. But if you're just hitting a very gnarly timing with crazy numbers before any of those splash damage units are out, it's definitely possible. So far the Hydras are kind of sucking, I'm not gonna lie. Lambo is laughing at the moment, and he's like, see, Roddy, Hydras suck. I tell you every single week. And then I'm like, well, Lambo, if you tell me every single week, why do you always build them when you really want a win? Yeah. Trigger's playing a really good second game here. He's actually just finding 3B after 3B. He's barely losing any units. He's done a great job with the Oracles early on. Pretty smooth transition into the Disruptors. The only thing, guys, I'd love to see is maybe like a cannon and a battery at like a 3rd base, at a 4th base, just to make sure that we don't find ourselves in that scenario where we miss a Nova and we're in trouble immediately. Against a Zerg that is kind of clearly all-inning us. The Trigger is going to build 3 batteries at this point. Well, that's not the only thing. The second thing I wanted to see was the second Robo. We're not going to get the second Robo. But what we do have is a bunch of batteries coming online. We got a couple of defensive stasis traps, and the first one is already pretty good. The second one on the left side is pretty good. What a night and day difference with that first game. Feels that almost everything Trigger is doing here is working out. Cham has a lot of units in production, has a lot of units that are currently being streamed to the bottom side of the map. Sometimes stasis traps can be a bit annoying because you're just kind of waiting for these units to free up, and it takes a little while. Do fire no, but the Stalkers are taking an alrighty fight. I wouldn't hate a battery overcharge here. That one Disruptor on the top side is a bit exposed and is going to fall, but Cham has been bleeding out a lot of units. And obviously if you build this many Roaches and Hydras, you're not looking for trades, you're looking for slam dunk victories. And it's safe to say that that was absolutely not one of them. Really good defense by Trigger. Great job with the stasis traps. Great job with the batteries. I don't want to call it a walk in the park, but starting to look like this is going to be a very convincing win for Trigger. Even though a Nexus did die there, but the good thing is that the Roaches and Hydras are going to have a very hard time escaping this far off creep. Now there are still a lot of units on the high ground that we're not really battling. The Stalkers alone can struggle if the Hydra numbers get very big. This is where we need a few more disruptors. Just when I thought it was pretty much in the bag, we lose a base, we lose a couple units. I still love it for Trigger. I think he's in a perfectly fine spot. As we fire a Nova, unfortunately that Nova did not go off as the disruptor died, but the Stalker numbers are so freaking high. I think we're one Nova away from just wiping the floor with this Zerg army. Cham is doing a really good job in picking up those exposed disruptors. Trigger had enough of kind of staying out of range as he blinks forward, feels that he's got more than enough units to wipe the floor with this Zerg army, and he ain't wrong. Need to be a tiny bit careful. Like, this was all off creep. On creep, these Zerg units are just going to perform a whole lot better. Oracle is going to get picked off. Now, there aren't too many Zerg units. That Nova connects with a Queen. The drones are being pulled in the bottom left side of our screen. Stalker's having a pretty fine time just microing on the edge of creep. Pretty ambitious forward blink, but Trigger just wants to get this game over. Says, alright mate, you got the best of me with Swarm Moles, but I'll get the best of you in game 2. Trigger not happy with the fact that this is a draw, but he played very well in game 2. I don't think there is any shame in losing like a best of 1 on Solaris against Roaches and Swarm Moles. Like, obviously it's frustrating because you want to go on a bit of a roll. Last week the man had an amazing 2-0 victory over Oliveira. So I understand he's not very happy with it, but I think he played an excellent game 2. And that's a pretty stressful moment, because if he would have lost game 2, it would have been a 3-1 lead. So I can live with the draw, and hopefully if some time goes by he can live with it too. Let's settle that prediction and get ready for our final best of 2. Shout out to my man Nugwar for the 16 months tier 3. I really appreciate it, my friend. 38% of y'all believed in a draw. So Reynor versus ReWhite has already been played. They played earlier this morning. The reason for that is that Reynor is currently getting a tattoo, but I do not know the score. I always tell the players, do not tell me the score. I don't know if an ace match is going to be needed. I don't know if somehow disaster struck and we lost, but I can tell you guys is, and I obviously want to be as honest as possible because I don't want to pretend that I don't know things when I do know things. Reynor has been in good spirits in the DMs. And then again, Reynor is pretty much always in good spirits with me. Either he was just very excited about his tattoo, or he has done alright this morning. So Reynor 7-11. ReWhite was, I think, 251 or something, guys. Yeah, 251. Is that the lowest elo we've seen in WTL Code S? Wait, wasn't the score 1-1 we just saw, or am I wrong? No, you're not wrong. It was 1-1 and I settled the draw, I think. Alright, top left side of site Delta. We're looking in the main base of our Chinese protoss, that is ReWhite. Bottom right side, we are looking in the main base of the Italian stallion representing Basilisk. It is Reynor. These games were played this morning at 10 AM Central European summertime. For the last time, it is summertime. So ready for the ace match, as 2 players available are 50% today. Well, there is a chance that Reynor is actually available for A, an interview, and B, the ace match. Because I think his tattoo appointment was an hour or 90 minutes ago. But I don't know how long he'll be going for. Well, if we cannot see Reynor in the interview, I will do the interview later. I know that last time we were just not capable of doing it because things got a bit too hectic. There is also another problem, and that is that Serral has to play in the ESL Masters soon, and obviously I don't want to disturb Serral with an interview right before he has to play in the ESL Masters. So I don't know if we're going to do an interview right after this match. We'll probably save it for a bit later. Maybe I will just record it offline and I'll send it over to the Basilisk folks, and they can combine it with this recording and put it on YouTube. I'll let you guys know once we've done it. But obviously I'm not going to bother Serral with having to do an interview right before he plays. Even if it's early in the ESL Masters, and I think that Serral is going to be totally fine. And we're going to let the players focus and prepare in whatever way, shape, or form they want to. And I don't think that Serral's dream preparation for an ESL match is to talk to me. Even though I would love that, but I just don't think that's the world that we live in. What can we expect from ReWhite? I've got honestly very little idea. I'm a bit more familiar with some of the other guys like Cyan and Firefly. I've obviously casted a whole bunch and I've been raving about a little. ReWhite positively surprised me a few times when I saw him last season in the WTL Code S. I think maybe in a Kung Fu copy here and there, but out of all the Chinese protoses, including, let's say, Jaishi, I would say that he was the least impressive. He's probably better than like Max said and stuff at the moment, but he's no Firefly, he's no Cyan. And I personally think Jaishi is a bit better as well. Could there be an overlap and Serral and Reynor both not available for the ace match? Well, if that is the case, then Trigger is going to be the ace. And I would be full of confidence that Trigger will bring it home. But I don't think Reynor should drop a map against ReWhite. But today's WTL Code S Day, guys, has been very, very surprising. In case you guys joined a little bit later, Matcherino Esports against Mystery Gaming was surprising in who beat who, was surprising in the scoreline, and was very surprising in-game as well with the strategies that were used and the way that certain games played out. So, yeah, perhaps if that trend continues, and I guess Wayne taking a map of Serral is a bit surprising. We've had a lot of weird things happen today, so there is a chance that this goes 1-1. If that is the case, then I'm full of confidence that Trigger can bring it home. What has to happen for Roddy to be the ace? Well, Serral needs to be playing ESL Masters. Reynor needs to be able to, needs to be getting a needle in his arm, and Trigger needs to be forced to work on the farm. If all of those three things happen, Roddy will be the ace. But out of all the days that we've ever had in WTL, this is my least favorite day ever to be the ace. Because I am jet lagged and I'm pretty brain dead. I woke up at 6:41 a.m. after having like a 30+ hour day. And then I only slept for like 5.5 hours. So the jet lag is real. This would not be a good day for me to be the ace. We have two adapts. Finding a single drone. Oracle movement is a little bit adventurous, but I guess... I want to say I guess not too bad, but in the end only getting 2 drones while losing 2 adapts and taking a lot of damage on your Oracle is not great. Do we know what Reynor's tattoo is? I know, but I'm not gonna show you guys any pictures. I'm not gonna talk about it because I feel like that's his moment. Whenever Reynor wants to share it with you guys, he can share it with you. I'm not gonna steal his thunder or his happiness. That's not up to me. I am 1-0 in ace matches, but if I would play an ace match today, my opponent would be a whole lot better than Crank is, so... Oracle's activating Pulsar Beam, trying to do something about this hatchery. That's the 4th base of Reynor, and I actually think he's gonna get the cancel. Well done there by ReWhite. Showed up at the right moment. If he shows up a little bit later, then the hatchery simply has too much HP for these Oracles to make their way through that hatch, but well done. So far, ReWhite is not playing poorly. Not amazing. Not that he's like ultra stoked, I guess, about anything that has happened in this game, but definitely shows that he belongs in WTL Code S and making it a competitive match. A big can of Red Bull on his forearm. If I would get a lifelong sponsorship from either Red Bull, Rockstar, or Monster, I'll get a tattoo today. Guaranteed payment for the upcoming, let's say until I'm 75, 39 years. I'll tattoo whatever the hell they want on my forearm, baby. Is there a baneling nest? I don't believe there is a baneling nest. We're heading into roaches and potentially swarmos. Can obviously just be roaches into hive, into lurkers down the line as well. We know that Reynor loves lurkers. 2 I think this is a pretty decent map for Roaches and Swarmos too. ReWhite is gonna get a very quick second Robo in the Robo Bay. I actually really love the way that ReWhite has played this strategically. If I wouldn't be so terrified of Mutas myself, this is, I think, I would play the majority of my ZVPs. But since I'm so worried about Mutas, I'm forced to play Phoenix every game. Then the company folds next year. I mean, if that's what it is, mate, then that's what it is, right? Maybe I'll ask for like at least 5 years in advance. Or at least take whatever supply they have left of energy drinks. Double Colossus, charge on the way and extend the thermal lens as Reynor has dropped the Hydralisk Den. And the Hive is more than halfway done. Honestly crazy that we live in an era where you look at an 8-minute Hive as these oracles are just flying over like 5 queens, and there is a sport crawler too, and he actually turns around. I believe that both of them could have potentially made it out, but by turning around for a split second he did finally lose one oracle. Once Reynor gets his hands on a couple of Vipers, I'm not too concerned about these Colossi. It takes, of course, a while before your Lurkers are as feisty and as scary as you want them to be as a Zerg. The basic Lurkers without Seismic Spines and Adaptive Talons aren't all that hot. Reynor building 3 Vipers immediately. There is a Templar Archives going down on the side of ReWhite, so he's not being a stubborn boy. Every now and then you have Protoss players who are like, well, I know that I kind of need High Templars, but I don't want to because I'm just going to build another Robo and hope I can either kill the Viper or that the Zerg doesn't have that many. But if a Zerg has like 3, 4, 5 Vipers, you can have 20 Robo units, but all of them are going to get abducted. Good choice by ReWhite. Was playing a strong game. Reynor's crew spread for 9 minutes. And I would say a game where ReWhite hasn't done a whole lot to push the creep back isn't all that impressive. It's, I think, kind of annoying as a Zerg to spread creep on side Delta, but would expect to have Reynor, to see Reynor have a little more going for himself. Adreno, did he forget? I don't think he really forgot. I think 9 minutes and 20 seconds into a game, I don't think we can say he forgot Adreno glance. Like, we're not even in the double digits yet of minutes, so... come on. Adreno is not one of the very first things you fire up if you have a very quick Hive, if you know your opponent has double Robo, if you're making Vipers, if you're transitioning into Lurkers. Some of those other things are slightly more important than getting Adreno glance immediately. Like, if Reynor is playing pure Ling Bane and he's got +2 melee, double evo, you know, sure, then Adreno is one of the first things you get. But Reynor clearly is prioritizing a few other things over Adreno glance. I don't think that was a mistake. I don't think he forgot. That just makes sense to me. I know we have seen a decent amount of games on this channel where we're like 17 minutes in, 800 Zerglings have died and they still don't have Adreno glance. Like, then they forget it, but this is not a game where I think we could really say Reynor forgot it. He's still getting it very early. Lurkers, no, berating a couple of these gateways. ReWhite doesn't really show any respect to his army. He's here with a lot. Blinding Clouds, though, doing their thing. Who needs Abduct if you can spam a whole bunch of Blinding Clouds? But ReWhite just kind of walked through them, got on top of these Lurkers, and said, you know what, I don't care about your Blinding Clouds. That went pretty good for ReWhite. Reynor losing 6 Lurkers, man. The boys of Starlight Twinkle are making us sweat today and definitely putting up one hell of a fight. Spinecrawler's getting a few hits off, but Spines just don't really cut it against the double Robo army of ReWhite. Reynor needs way more Lurkers, and I think we need to start landing a couple of Abducts. Maybe we can get a few Abducts from the high ground there, because I don't see any High Templars in the mix here. Oh, the Vipers! Now the Stalkers blink forward, and actually 2 out of 3 Vipers get sniped. Reynor drops another Blinding Cloud, but I'm not in love with that one either. One Colossus is derping a little bit. We have a couple of Roaches coming in from the top left, but they are not quite overwhelming. The Hydras are somehow sniping a Colossus, and that's not a sentence any StarCraft 2 caster says very often. Well, the Reynor is in trouble. He has 2,000 minerals left in the bank, 1,000 gas, has +2 missile attacks, but... wow. Earlier, Reynor split up a lot of his forces to the left side and the top right side, and he probably thought he's safe there because he's got a few lurkers already burrowed up, and ReWhite is not going to run into it, but ReWhite did just run into it, and even when the blinding clouds went down, ReWhite just stormed through. And the Chinese Protoss is now on pole position to potentially take the 1-0 lead in this best of 2. We have a few more lurkers morphing. Revelation goes down. This could be a bad fight for ReWhite though. I don't know, like if that lurker count looks pretty intimidating to me. Does Reynor have enough to protect these lurkers? It seems that the answer is no. Lurkers are gonna get fried. Roaches are not going to be able to get the job done on the right side. Sure, they'll win the fight against a couple of zealots, but can we stop this Protoss army? It seems that the answer to that question is no. ReWhite took the 1-0 lead over Reynor this morning. That is obviously shocking. Another shocking thing that has happened today in the WTL Code S. And that means now it's match point for Starlight Twinkle. I really hope that Reynor was wide awake this morning. I'm sweating a little. Match point for the Starlight Twinkle versus Basilisk. Top right side, Starlight Twinkle's a ReWhite, a Chinese Protoss. No Cyan, no Firefly, but he played a mighty fine game 1. It seems that my stream is lagging a little. Top left side is of Equilibrium. Top left side. We are looking at the main base of the Italian Stallion down 0-1. A lot of you guys call him the 50% man. Well, I hope that he was the 50% man today. I think you guys can see based on my reaction, I did not know. I always tell the players, do not tell me the score. Because I don't want to lie to my audience. I don't want to ever pretend like, oh, is ReWhite going to do it? When I knew that either he was or he wasn't going to do it. I legitimately did not know. And I'm definitely kind of scared at this point. Well, it's safe to say that ReWhite is going to get a lot more ELO coming into next week. Or ELO. Because if you have 251, which I think is the lowest in the entire league, but you can take a map of Reynor, it is safe to say that the guys from WTL have done you very dirty. What a day. What an absurd day of StarCraft 2. I believe over at the ESL Master stream, we had a 45-minute TVT draw. How's the tattoo going, mate? Are we still in the studio? Reynor is in the chat. You done? Just back? Okay. It's good? Is it like completely finished, or do you have to come back for a second session or a third session? Because I know that if it is finished? Okay, awesome. You know, you have to be careful with showering and swimming and whatnot, eh? This is a replay, yes. I already mentioned it a couple of times. Reynor played these games at 10 a.m. this morning. So, 6 hours ago. Observer is not showing us the Adept skirmish, or... Well, there is no Adept skirmish, but it was a pro being chased by a Zergling. I cannot give you a hard time for that, Reynor, because I messed up with my alarms yesterday. I always use alarms, guys, if I ever have to wake up. But since yesterday, I came home, and at first I wanted to stream before my ESL broadcast, but I was A, very, very tired, like properly exhausted from my long journey from Vegas to the Netherlands, and B, I just didn't have enough time anymore to stream, because I feel like if I ever stream at the bare minimum, I want to be 90 minutes. I was like, I don't have 90 minutes, so what I'm going to do is I'll lay down in my bed after I showered, and instead of putting alarm clocks, I put the stopwatch or the timer. And that one you can turn off very easily. It's like one click on your phone and it's done. I was like, alright, 45 minutes, then my phone wrinkles and rings, and then I just get out of bed and I'll be ready to cast. Well, I don't know who turned it off. I assume it was me. And then I woke up 2.5 hours later. I was like, oh my god, I have to cast ESL Masters. Ay, ay, ay. It was rough. Thank you, BASILISK, for the 18 months. So I cannot give Reynor a hard time for messing up his alarms this morning. You woke up 1 minute before you met. Which is still a lot better than waking up 75 minutes after you're supposed to be casting, Reynor. So I still cannot give you a hard time. But I guess we can both learn and make sure we do better in the future. Oracle into Void Ray on the side of ReWhite here for Equilibrium. As Reynor took the Mega Base as his third, and ReWhite is like, that's cool. If you take it, I'll take it too. Mega Base versus Mega Base, guys. This is where we need Kalaris. Two worlds collide. I know that Jiffy. I felt terrible. I told him I was sorry. Yeah. But Waddy was very chill about it. He said, don't worry. You didn't miss anything. It was 2 best of 3s. 2 zeros. They were stomps. He's like, it's okay, mate. I was like, I'm really sorry. Because in all the seasons, like, you know, Demo is always late for something. I have never missed a desk segment or a cast at an offline StarCraft 2 event. And I never missed an online cast besides one day of TSL. But my internet was just dead for the entire day. So I couldn't do anything about it. This was legitimately the first time that I was just late. Traveling is rough, I guess. 20-hour journey. Babies on the plane. Right next to me. Like, in front of me a baby. Behind me a baby. I was just done. I wasn't a functioning human anymore. It happened. Zerglings around on the Adepts. I believe one Adept went down there. Yeah, the other 2 Adepts very low on HP. Cool build here by ReWhite. I don't know if it's going to work out. I hope it doesn't. Since Reynor is chilling in the chat, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm kind of like more relaxed about this game. Because I don't think that Reynor would be bantering in the chat if he actually got bopped 2-0 by ReWhite. If he did, I am not going to be very happy with this banter. But I assume we're heading into an ace match. But we're not there yet. Let's just see how it goes. 54 drones against 46 probes. ReWhite is building a lot of gateways and he's going to try to just spam blink. Why the hell does he have... I don't understand why he has double gas in his natural when you have a rich Vespian geyser here. He could have had all those probes on minerals and just take the rich Vespian geyser at his gold base. And then you actually save yourself 75 minerals of an assimilator and you give yourself 3 more probes to put on minerals. Which then, that mineral income you could use to build a couple of extra cannons and batteries in case Reynor is going to be aggressive. Definitely a bit of a mistake there by ReWhite. I would be very surprised if Reynor is joking and bantering after getting bopped 0-2 by ReWhite, yeah. No, that would be the final surprise of a very surprising day of WTL Codes. And that would be the least pleasant of all of them. I'll be dead honest with you guys. Couple of Crucibles connecting with a Void Ray as we have a double Dropper Lord heading into the main base of ReWhite. Stalkers doing their thing in the bottom side of Equilibrium. So what are we dropping in the main? Are these just roaches? Is it a mix between roaches and queens? Is it just 8 queens? Okay. The 8th queen drop by Reynor in the main base of ReWhite. Poor ReWhite. He played an amazing first game. Actually get the best of Reynor. When Reynor had hive tech. And then you have to deal with 8 queens in your main in game 2. You know, Wardy told us yesterday that this map is incredibly good for Zerg in this matchup. I've seen Zergs lose on it a decent amount, to be fair. But then I guess I also see Zergs fly 8 queens into the main base. Off-roaders players that won game 1 against them. And the queens are winning the fight against the stalkers. Why not? There's a lot of energy on these 8 lovely ladies. They're actually winning the fight, guys. Stalkers are microing for days. We need the probes. ReWhite is sending the probes back and he's like, wait a minute. I am not done yet dealing with these 8 queens. Finally, with 1 extra zealot, it is going to be enough. But the supply obviously does not lie. It seems that this match will be going to an ace match. And I guess that is not too surprising. Reynor will once more live up to his man, to his nickname of being the 50% man. This time around, I'm very happy that he was the 50% man after going down 0-1. We really needed him to be the 50% man. The Ravages take care of that overcharged battery, and ReWhite just has very little left going for himself here. Feels like If he, instead of attacked, would have just focused on defending, and then you would have taken the Rich Vespian Geyser, you have a couple of extra probes on your minerals, maybe he would have been able to deal with the Roaches and Ravages of Reynor. Now, of course, the game could have still gone on for much longer, but attacking into the Zerg that is going to attack you, more often than not, it does not work out for the Protoss player. That means that Reynor versus ReWhite, just like Cham versus Trigger, and just like Wayne versus Serral, is going to end up as a draw. Triple draw, which I believe is a form of poker that I have never played. But it is a triple draw today. 7% of you guys thought this was going to be a draw, and it is a draw. Alright, now I need to discuss. I'm going to go ahead and take a very tiny break. After that, I'll be back as we're going to figure out who is going to play as the ace for Basilisk today versus the Starlight Twinkle. I'll see you guys soon. Give you guys a little spoiler. The ace match is Serral versus Nice. Best of one. Ace match, RotterdaM Station. Serral versus Nice. Yeah. We were able to use Serral because ESL Masters is way behind schedule. So we don't have to worry too much about Serral's match. Serral was supposed to be playing right now. I didn't really think this was going to go into an ace match, but in the WTL code, as you never know. B, we got fortunate that the first Clamar, I think, went pretty quick. A lot of somewhat short games. And C, ESL Masters had like a 45-minute TVT that apparently ended in a draw. So they are way behind schedule. Shout out to XY indeed. Did XY win that series against Coffee, by the way? Because I have no idea what happened in the ESL Masters. But I saw he was up 1-0 before they had that crazy draw. Yeah, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord for that one. He won the rematch. Okay. XY won? Damn. 2-0. That's actually very impressive. Looks like they're starting with Showtime Skillers versus ESO. Yeah, that was, I think, always supposed to be the first match. And then the second match was going to be Serral versus Goblin. It's okay. It's a best of one. It is on RotterdaM Station. Not Serral's favorite map. But I think it's going to be okay. For the second time. I need to fix my audio, sorry. For the second time, we're going to see Serral on the map. But I think Serral is going to be forced to play somewhat often. Because I think a lot of people are going to pick it against him. I really missed having my early morning StarCraft streams while you were away. Well, I'm back, mate. And there's going to be plenty of them. Today's a tough day since I woke up ultra early. The jet lag is real, but we have a lot of fun stuff to look forward to. And I'm thinking of organizing a few cool things as well. Of course, there will be big brain bouts again in the future, but I'm also thinking of doing something a little bit different. But I will discuss it with the lovely folks from Basilisk and see where we can take it. I think something that could be even more fun and perhaps better for the scene than just the big brain bouts. By the way, people now allowed to talk about Stormgate. Have you already said something about it? No, because I have kind of missed some of the updates. But I can tell you, mate, I have played a very, very, very little of Stormgate. That's not because I'm not excited for the project. I am. I'm still as excited as I was a long time ago. But I have been, before my Vegas trip, I think you guys saw how freaking much I was streaming. There was just so much StarCraft to cast. There was a lot of StarCraft to play because we had a brand new map pool. So I want to be well informed. I hopefully can live up to the high standard I've set for myself of being in touch with the game. So I've just been freaking busy with StarCraft. Like, I don't treat StarCraft as like, oh, this is the end. I need to get ready for the next thing. I'm gonna keep on doing my absolute best in StarCraft for as long as StarCraft is around. And right now, I think Stormgate is awesome. It's exciting, but it's still a bit of a far away from my bet show. And yeah, I'm a 36-year-old man. I make a living out of StarCraft. I love StarCraft. I'm still focused on StarCraft. When the time comes that I can actually stream Stormgate, I will definitely put a whole lot of time and effort into it. But right now, it's just been very, very little Stormgate for me. And initially, the alpha was obviously like very limited. It was like one map, one race. I'm not gonna grind one map, one race in the dark. A game that I'm not allowed to talk about, a game that I'm not allowed to stream. StarCraft 2, with as awesome as it still is, with the new patch, the new map pool, is just a for me, still personally, an amazing amount of fun. Any hope for StarCraft now that Microsoft has confirmed it owns Blizzard? Absolutely, but I also think that, just like Stormgate, is a bit of a far away from my bet show, as in, like, maybe eventually that will be awesome, but right now I don't think that really does a whole lot for us. But it obviously cannot get worse, because Blizzard Activision was pretty terrible over the last few years, and has obviously hurt us, has disappointed us. But the good news is that there is still so much good StarCraft to get excited over. I know that sometime next week we'll have a call about some of the things related to StarCraft, the future of StarCraft. But I'm always hopeful, because I think there's just too many great, passionate people in this scene. Passionate tournament organizers. And StarCraft 2 is just still so freaking good, guys. And one of the first things that I definitely thought when I booted up Stormgate for the first time, and obviously it's alpha, I was very limited. I'm like, damn guys, StarCraft is really good. And it's hard to just casually replace an amazing game like StarCraft 2. Anyway, for the last time today, in the WTL Code S of Basilisk versus Starlight Twinkle, we're going to take a look at these two amazing players. It is a Serral on the bottom left side of a RotterdaM station, apparently named after a metro stop in Stockholm. In the top right side, the man who was not part of the original lineup, which I thought was a bit surprising. It is the Taiwanese Protoss Nice. We have Gamers 8 2024. Well, this also happened while I was away. But Gamers 8 is rebranded. Gamers 8 will no longer be Gamers 8 and will now be called the Esports World Cup. I don't think StarCraft has officially been confirmed for it, but they did have a little bubble that said RTS. Now, that doesn't mean that you can just celebrate that it's going to be StarCraft. It could be Age of Empires, it could be Warcraft 3, it could only be Brood War, but I obviously I expect that to be StarCraft 2, because StarCraft is amazing. But I hope for more than just StarCraft. Like, I personally don't play any Warcraft or Age of Empires, but I do think they're cool games, and I would love to see 2, if not even 3 RTS titles at Gamers 8, aka the Esports World Cup. Thank you, Beast Mode Animal Style, for the 59 months. We can do it a bit later, Reynor, because obviously I would love to have Yona on the interview, but I don't want to disturb Yona before his match versus Goblin, so we'll just do the interview a little bit later. On top of that, I am incredibly tired and jet lagged, so we'll do it later. We'll definitely do an interview about this clan war, no matter how this ace match turns out, but we're not going to do it live on stream. You start the co-stream then soon? Good luck with it, mate. I'll send some folks over your way. Yeah, no worries. You do your thing, mate. Streaming is important. Are you gonna flex that tattoo? Huh? Roddy, how much money did you make in Vegas? Minus a lot. I wish that I had better deals, and I wish that I could have given you guys some great Vegas propaganda. But the outcome was minus a lot. But it's okay. I gave Vicky an amazing trip. She's very happy. I had a great time with the Basilisk folks, so I would say it was still a cool trip. I'm very happy I made the trip. But I definitely did not financially gain anything, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I made a contribution. Hopefully they can fix some of the damn escalators in that city. Because I have no idea how almost every single freaking escalator in the entire city of Las Vegas is broken. So hopefully they can put my funds to good use and they can repair a couple of them. I saw too many people carry like trolleys and wheelchairs up chairs because every second escalator is malfunctioning. Overlord Speed is indeed an interesting choice, but I think it makes sense because Serral knows that this map is a bit weird. It's crazy. He already got all in on it once a couple weeks ago when he played this map against Gerald. Gerald opened up with a Stargate, took a very quick third base, and then went for the second Stargate and built a whole bunch of Phoenixes. So I like the idea of going Overlord first and just trying to reduce the RNG a tiny bit. SCA trucks, no, but I wish that I would have been able to. So that's the last thing I'll say before I truly focus on this ace match, because obviously it is important, even if it's Yona. Fleet Beacon, by the way, but Serral, I'm sure, did not forget about that match that I mentioned previously that he played against Gerald. And that is once more going to be the Proto style of play that we're going to witness here. Is that while I was in Vegas, they had a festival called When We Were Young on the Vegas festival grounds. And apparently they played all this awesome music that at least people of my generation used to listen to when we were teenagers. Like the Blink 182s, Sum 41, Simple Plan, and that kind of stuff. And if I didn't have some TwitchCon obligations for Basilisk, I would have loved to attend that, because I would have been screaming my my ass off, and I would have probably been completely without a voice. But yeah, I do love that music genre. I love those days of music. So I definitely think I would have had a 10 out of 10 time if I would have been able to attend that. But unfortunately, I couldn't. Yeah, the amazing music. There are a lot of people driving around with cars and like tricycles with speakers on it and blasting some of these cool songs from the old days. I mean, any of those bands I think were amazing. Got a very quick mothership. That is not what I expected when I saw that Fleet Beacon go down. And on top of that, we have a Tempest as well. Pretty weird build here by Nice. So we have a mothership. We had a Tempest. Did he cancel the Tempest? No, right? We have one Tempest, or did he cancel it? Is Nice just going to recall like 1 million Zealots and Stalkers into the main base of Serral? Is that the game plan here? We have one Void Ray. I guess he cancelled the Tempest because I don't see it anywhere. No, one Tempest is harassing. It is actually one-shotting some drones. It is now in range of 2 Queens and a Spore Crawler. Bizarre build by Nice. Legitimately not something I've ever seen before. The one Tempest into quick mothership into double Forge. And we have a Templar Archives going down as well. It's a fantastic position for a Tempest. That Spore Crawler is useful. The Observer is missing it, but I think the Tempest is about to die. It's awfully close to dying. Does not die in the end. I kind of like the idea of the build. It's obviously all a very big investment, and killing a couple of drones, I don't know if you can really justify building a Fleet Beacon and a Tempest for just a few drones, but he's also forcing out 7 Corruptors. Now, I don't think the Corruptors are useless, as here comes the mothership. Serral's going to see that mothership. Is he really going to just... What are we going to do with that? What? Wait, what are we doing? What is that? Is he recalling it home? Yeah, okay. Oh, that was a bit underwhelming. Cool. Sick mothership harass. Did he time warp the drones? Okay. The Observer didn't see it. Alright, so apparently we had a time warp on the drones. So a little bit of economic damage. I mean, at this point, Nice didn't really have an army to recall into a Serral Natural or main base yet, so that was definitely not the plan regardless. Storm is finishing up. A couple of probes are dying. I think those are probes that are dying at the 2 or 3 o'clock position. Oops. Thank you so much to Air. It was a good time. Corruptors are going to use Caustic Spray on the Templar Archives, but there is a shield battery next to it, and that's actually going to keep the Templar Archives alive. Really appreciate it, Air. It's gonna take a month or 2 of streaming, but we'll get there eventually. Scarlet is letting us know that the +1 mothership can one-shot drones. Something that only Fear Dragon knew before Scarlet found this out. I definitely did not know. So Serral is maxed out. A lot of units are still in production, and a lot of units are still making their way towards the top right side of this incredibly freaking large map. But that still doesn't mean that this amount of roaches and ravages is not a problem for Nice. I don't think he cancelled that Nexus, unless I'm just blind or slow in the head today, which I definitely am. But I believe that was a straight up kill, so that's 400 minerals down the drain. Nice using the temporary cloak, but doesn't really do a whole lot at this point. Shout out to the Back to Warcraft folks, as we are reaching the end of this WTL Codex broadcast. I hope you guys had an amazing day. We are watching the ace match of the Starlight Twinkle versus Basilisk. The first match between Reynor Esports and Mystery Gaming was surprising. This one has been perhaps even more surprising, but feeling pretty good about Serral's position 10 minutes in. Nice has just done a little bit of everything, but at this point I'm not terrified of the army that Nice is currently working with. Serral's gonna try to deny this Nexus from going online one more time. We are gonna right click it. Storm is pretty good, and that's definitely something that Serral's gonna have to respect. First carrier is now on the production tab, and 2 more Stargates have been warped in as well. 10 minutes, and you guys can see that not too many units have died. I believe there was an observer that got picked off in the center of the map. We've got 5 Dropper Lords, 2 Infestors. Look at that production tab, guys. Just a little bit of everything. An Ultralisk Cavern, a couple of links, a Reynor Glance, triple upgrades, triple Evolution Chamber. That's wild as well. It's hard for Nice to get to the other side of the map as well. Unless he sends the mothership by itself. But if you look at the mini-map, you can see that Serral has a couple of units scattered around the map. Obviously has control of the Zelnaga Watchtower. So it's really hard for Nice to sneak anything to the other side of the map. But it's also hard for Serral to do something about this 4th base now with all the cannons and the batteries here. I'm never too concerned about carriers with 0-0. Kind of think it is indeed almost a shame for Nice if you have such quick, amazing forge upgrades. The ground army can absolutely shine if you have an upgrade advantage over the Zerg. But now Nice is basically slowing the game down even more than it was perhaps already a slow game. And the more time that goes by, the more that Serral can catch up in upgrades and obviously can get his dream army. Serral's gonna pick up 38 Zerglings and a Roach by the looks of it. It's gonna be very hard to drop into that though. It's a lot of cannons, double battery, couple stalkers, couple storms available. I don't know. Corrupt is leading the charge so they can absorb a couple of these stalkers shots. First storm is pretty good. Second storm I also like it. Storming your own stalkers is not that big of a deal because stalkers have a lot of HP and links though. But these high templars being this exposed is absolutely a big deal. Serral got like 4 or 5 of them, and a lot of them are carrying a crazy amount of energy. So Serral doesn't get too much done in the natural, but he picked off 4 high templars there in the right side of the map. So that's pretty good at the right side of the map. Serral sitting on 3.5k minerals is a little low on gas, but I guess that's because he just built a whole bunch of ultras. The ultras are going to have +2 carapace, and I guess chitinous plating is already done. I've kind of missed it because Serral's production tab has been incredibly large for quite some time. Thank you, Ian Blue, matey. I was talking about you earlier. Only good things, don't you worry. Couple probes are dying, but I don't know to what. The observer is not showing it to us. Obviously, always loving the Zerg army a little bit more once we start complementing some of these units with the spellcasters. I think Fungo has a lot of potential. These Infestors are maxed out on energy. Maybe we can Fungo the High Templars and can just YOLO our Ultras on top of it. The overcharge is early, but I don't hate that. Time Warp goes down. Carriers don't have fantastic upgrades. Only +1. We have a Neuro Parasite going down on a carrier or 2. And it kind of feels that Nice's ground army is just getting absolutely demolished by these Ultras. And the only thing that's left is a couple of carriers. And carriers are great, but it's +1 air weapons for the carriers against Ultras with chitinous plating. But using the cloaking of the mothership to keep the Nexus alive is actually a very sweet move on the side of Nice. Thought the Nexus was absolutely a goner, but he killed the Overseers, used cloaking to save the Nexus. Really cool play. Does Serral have like all of his extractors? It's kind of hard to believe. Serral's got so many bases. I see 4, 5, 6, 7. Serral is on 8 bases, but he's a little low on gas. I highly doubt that we've been mining off 16 extractors. It's got 102 larvae as well. So, if we just gather a little more gas, we can max out for days. That's a 2k gas income. That is pretty high. I'm not sure about this fight, guys. Corruptors are in decent numbers, but Void Ray is doing their thing. Ultras are destroying the only few ground units that there are, but I kind of think that Serral does not have enough anti-air. We need a little bit more. I'm just very happy that Nice didn't chrono boost out air upgrades non-stop. I know that clearly he was focusing on the ground army for a while, but it is nice that these carriers are not that scary, that they will win the fights convincingly, and that Nice can just A-move to the other side of the map immediately. And if Nice is gonna now wait for his air upgrades to kick in, well then Serral has a lot of time to just gather a monstrous bank and obviously get much better upgrades on his own Corruptors too. What does Nice need? That's a good question. I don't really know. I think a little bit of everything. You definitely need a couple of Archons to make sure that the Corruptors can just stay on top of each other and one-shot your units. You need some Storms to make it a bit more difficult for Serral to get on top of your units. And then I think you need a mix of Carriers, Void Rays, and I guess an Immortor or two on the ground wouldn't be too bad. Mothership gets abducted. Old Mothership, Neo Mothership, but 2 Vipers died. And I guess a Mothership and a Carrier is still a lot more expensive than 2 Vipers. Yeah, I don't even really know what's the dream comp here. I also do think that you always want to have a crazy amount of gateways. So that even if Zerg initially kind of wins the fight, if you can warp in 20 plus gateway units, you can obviously turn the tide real quick. Ultras leading the charge. Storm mostly uses Zoning Storm. Definitely did a decent amount of damage with the first one. It's just the Void Rays and the Carriers are having a hard time. Serral will never just stay there and fight. And if Serral would just A-move and hope that he wins the fight, it can obviously go down south rather quick. Serral will always do a good job in just darting back and forth, getting in and out of range, one-shotting a couple of these expensive Protoss air units. And most of the time it will be okay for the Zerg. Oh! So quick! Never seen an Ultra burrow that quick, guys. We're now gonna morph 9 of our Corruptors into Broodlords. Nice, making more Void Rays. Wouldn't hate an Infestor or two again for Serral. Not for the Neuroparasite, but I just always love the combo. Okay, we have 3 Infestors. I missed those earlier, so Serral, I think, has basically everything that he needs. He's gonna land the Fungal. Now, I wouldn't hate a Parasitic Bomb because I think this is a perfect moment to drop one. And Serral, of course, will drop one. At this point, you can just disengage a little bit. That Protoss army is still scary, but the longer this fight goes on, the more these spellcasters of the Zerg will shine. And the Corruptor count is still overwhelming. Nice has already lost like 60 or 70 supplies. Gonna lose these final units too. And the fight that we were waiting for is not even much of a fight. I mean, that was a massacre. Zerg spellcasters are good. And Serral is incredibly good in controlling the late game Zerg army. With or without Spore Crawler support. With or without a low drone count. Serral knows how to control these units. And he barely makes any mistakes. Stalkers are going to blink forward and will pick off 2 of the Broodlords, but now we have extra Lings and Banelings showing up. Maybe Serral's just waiting to regenerate some energy. Did lose the Infestors and only has 1 Viper left. I think if Nice goes back into an all-out ground army, which kind of seems to be the case, then I would love a few more Infestors. Fungal, paired up with a couple of Lings with sexy upgrades and Adrenal Glands, Ultras, and then on top of that all those Broodlords is obviously fantastic. Nice does find a hatchery, but he doesn't look too thrilled about it, and I can't really blame him. Because he now finds himself with a mostly Stalker army, 19 minutes into a game of RotterdaM. How's the ESL Masters going, by the way, guys? Is Serral in dire need of having to end this game soon, or is Skillers and Showtime, are they still battling? Because I believe Serral plays after that. Game 2 started. Okay. Well, good news is that I think we are starting to reach the beginning of the end of this game. Even though Nice is 196 supply, but a Stalker army 20 minutes into the game against all the great things that Zerg has to offer, besides Lurkers, but we are making our way into Lurkers. It's one of these games where it's like not over, but it is kind of over, unless the Stalkers just shine brighter than they have ever shined before. 1-0 Nikita. Okay. Hello, Benny, by the way. How's my Benjamin Baker? Recall being used. I wonder what we are recalling. I guess just Stalkers, right? Yeah. Stalkers are recalled. They will blink. So, not actually moving his Corruptus, so he's going to lose a couple of them. Good job there by Nice. And that's a tactical recall if I've ever seen one. Losing a few of the Corruptors is obviously not bad if your opponent doesn't really have any Sky units anymore. All the Void Rays have died, the Carriers have died, the Mothership has died. Nice is now building another Stargate. Which I find interesting. Snipes a Viper, good job there. 2 more Stargates, 3 more Stargates. So is the plan, like, take a fight, hope you kill a couple of the Corruptors, and then just spam 28 Void Rays and win? Hello, Nick. It was awesome, mate. We had a great time. Vegas is a magical place. I had a good time. It was fun to be away from the computer a little bit. And obviously sunshine. Coming back home and seeing all this gray weather over here. Rain and wind. Makes you miss the desert heat almost immediately. Storm lands on a couple of the links. Ultra's having a hard time against this many Stalkers. Okay, now we're going back into Carriers. Okay. Nice, definitely putting up a proper show here in the ace match of the Starlight Twinkle versus Basilisk. I think a lot of you guys are surprised that we are in an ace match. But the WTL Code S is just very competitive this year. I was actually a bit worried about Starlight Twinkle. Just like I was a bit worried about the SSLT. We have a lot of Banelings making their way into the bottom right side. Cannons are not going to cut it against this many Banelings. And +2 Banelings no longer one-shot workers. But +3 Banelings absolutely do. So we still got that going for ourselves. You know, I kind of want Nice. If I was hoping for a Protoss victory here, or I'm cheering for the Starlight Twinkle, which obviously I'm not. But let's say I would be neutral here. I kind of feel that Nice shouldn't have built the Carriers. You just get a big bank, you take a fight, and then you see what Serral maxes out on, and then you just build 20 Void Rays. And pray. The Void Ray surprise. Serral making some progress with the Lurkers and the Broodlords. Nice obviously has a somewhat mobile army. It's not the most mobile army ever because High Templars are a bit slow and the Immortals will always start trailing. And he's going to try to outmaneuver the Hive-Tech army of Serral. Gets on top of the Queens and the Hatchery in the top left side. Serral feels way too patient. I mean, it's an ace match. We have never lost in the regular season of WTL Code S. Serral wants to make sure that it doesn't happen today. And earlier he already went 1-1 with Wayne. Nice is hiding. I don't know if we can call it the carrier transition, but I guess for the second time in the game, we are transitioning into carriers. Serral has definitely been mining a few more resources, so I'm not worried about out-mining the entire map of Ratu set. There are still plenty of bases that Serral can eventually get his hands on, or bases that he currently has that have a lot of resources left, but Stalker is running through the meat grinder of a bunch of lurkers in the center of the map. It was a lot of fun, Beliziano. No wins, but the biggest win was spending time with lovely people. I got to hang out with No Regret. That was a long time ago. I feel like it's been years since I saw Jake. So it was really cool to spend some time with No Regret and Zergil, aka Kathy. Lurkers and Hydras battling on the right side. Stalkers need to be careful, by the way. Maybe the Immortals can lead the charge. Perhaps the Storm or two can help Nice clean up these Lurkers in the bottom side. Nice will clean up all these Lurkers. Does lose a lot of units though. Fungo from downtown. The Infestor makes his way around the corner. Connects with a lot of the Stalkers. High Templar dies there. A couple of Immortals die. Serral does not know about all these extra Stargates. This is definitely some... Okay, he does know. I don't know when he saw it, but I guess maybe with a Baneling or a Zergling. So now I guess we go back into Corruptus again. So it was like, come on, make up your mind. Nice putting on one hell of a show, but that's a big scout for Serral. Serral pretty much always knows. If Serral ever does decide to cosplay, I truly hope he dresses up as an Overseer. Because the boy has seen everything in almost every single game. For the vast majority of the last 5 years. And Fungo connects with a couple of the Stalkers. Fungo obviously doesn't last all that long, but it's still nice to get a couple shots off. Lurkers are so incredibly good against Stalkers. Nice, losing the bottom right side is a bit of a problem. It's also always worth keeping an eye on the mineral bank of the Protoss. If they're going to try to make the Hail Mary play with carriers, you definitely need to make sure that you don't spend all your money before you attack. Because if you fight with like anything more than 5 carriers, you can actually drain whatever tiny bank you have ultra quick while replacing and rebuilding those interceptors in the middle of a fight. The Broodlings are definitely a bit weaker. It's the trade-off that they made with this patch. Broodlords are, I think, a bit more fun to look at because they're not as slow as they were. They're a whole lot quicker. But because they are a lot quicker, they deal a lot less damage. I am personally a fan of that change. I'm still traumatized from casting a couple of games of Grey Goo, a RTS that was released maybe 7-8 years ago. And they had some sort of a hero unit that moved so freaking slow. It was like the slowest thing that you've ever seen. Like slower than a Queen of Creep. Since that day, I decided that I never want to see ultra slow units in an RTS again. Nice's air upgrades are pretty much as good as they could be. He's got +3 air weapons and +2 air armor. He's got +3 plasma shields as well. Obviously, tiny bit of a risky fight. Serral had so much supply and still units that don't necessarily fire up. But Parasitic Bomb is amazing. Corruptors are going to go for the dive on top of all the carriers. And this is where it would have been so nice for Nice if he just had a couple of Void Rays in the mix. But even without the Void Rays, the carriers did pretty good. But obviously Serral has a big bank. Serral's had an amazing amount of bases for the longest time. And he can now rebuild 25 Corruptors. Nice is going to add a couple of Void Rays to his army. Reinforce is the word I was looking for, these carriers, but the Void Rays are never going to show up in time. Serral has Corruptors 4 days. Nice is going to tilt his head as he knows that this 28-minute game comes to an end. Basilisk Serral does it again. Wins another ace match for us in the regular season of WTL Codas. It did not come easy for anyone in Basilisk today. We had Wayne going 1-1 with Serral. Cham 1-1 with Trigger. ReWhite went 1-1 with Reynor. And Serral had to dig pretty deep in a 28-minute game on Rat who set. And he gets the job done. On top of that, maybe it didn't come easy for me after being a bit jet lagged from my long journey home yesterday. But we did it. We win again. We stay undefeated in our second season ever of the WTL Codas. We improve our record to 5-0. Last week I was not here, but hopefully you guys were still able to see that the boys booked an amazing win without me over Dragon Kaiser Gaming. Trigger was the absolute hero last week, a 2-0 victory over Oliveira. Serral went 1-1 with Dark, Reynor went 1-1 with Hero. So we are now 5-0 in our second season of WTL Codas. Last season we went undefeated in the regular season, 11-0. So pretty sick. 16 wins in a row in the regular season. Hopefully this time around, you know, I would be okay with eventually ever dropping a map or dropping a single best of 7 in the regular season if we could just win in the playoffs. But obviously it's nice to stay undefeated. Proud of the boys. got a little closer than I think a lot of you guys expected it to be. Got closer than I expected it to be. But the only thing that truly matters in the end is that we get another W on the board. So, well done to our Canadian stud muffin, our Finnish goat, and the Italian stallion. Normally, we like to do a little interview after a match, but I am kind of that, guys. I have been a bit jet lagged. I woke up at like 6:41 a.m. this morning after I was awake for 30 hours the previous day. And B, Serral has to play in the ESL Masters soon against Goblin. That is a best of 3, second round of the Swiss format. So obviously I'm not going to bother Serral now. A, I don't think he has time. And B, even if he had a little bit of time, we just want our players to prepare in the best possible way for their matches in different tournaments. There will be an interview with the boys. We'll probably just combine it together with this match and upload it to the Basilisk YouTube channel. So if you guys are very eager for the interview content, make sure to give Basilisk a follow over at YouTube. I posted the link in the chat. You guys can find us here. It will all be posted there. When will that be posted? That I don't know. But it will get done. Skill is 2-0. So then it's time to enjoy more Serral. But this time around, not on this channel, but at the channel of the ESL_SC2 Masters. But I will send you guys over to Reynor's stream. Because Reynor is apparently following the footsteps of his idol, Roddy. And he's now becoming a caster. And he's going to co-stream the ESL Masters today. I am not going to do that. A, I am way too brain dead. And B, I will be casting tomorrow. And C, I'm going to watch Barcelona against Real Madrid. I'll settle the prediction and send you guys over to Reynor's stream. Thank you guys for stopping by. Big shout out to the lads from Back to Warcraft for hosting us. And obviously, job well done. Another W for the Basilisk boys. We'll take those.